Hello, everybody. It's me, Professor Blindie, and today you are tuned into our Pseudo Tumor Cerebri open forum. I'm so excited about this because I have two wonderful women on here with me, and we will be discussing our experience with Pseudo Tumor Cerebri and things of that nature. So I'm so ready to get into this. And yes, let's introduce the women we have on the call. So, Melva, would you like to go first?
Sure. Well, first, I want to say thank you, Professor Blindie, for thinking of me and having this panel discussion. Of course, I am Melva Henderson, and I socially go by Mel, which is MEL. I am the founder, CEO of Living Beyond Limits here in Dallas, Texas, and I'm excited to be here. So, thank you.
Yes. Krystle?
Yes. Also, thank you, Professor Blindie, for inviting me. I'm Krystle Allen from Newark, New Jersey, co-founder and president of a local nonprofit in Jersey called Eyes Like Mine Incorporated. And I'm looking forward to this discussion because we need more of these.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
definitely. Okay, you guys. Well, we're not going to hold their time, but we're going to dive right into these questions.
Okay.
So, when were you guys diagnosed with pseudotumor cerebri?
This is Mel. So for me, it was back in 2007, April 2007. And to be quite honest, in the beginning, I didn't know what that was, what that in all entail, honestly. So I used to just really basically say optic nerve damage, which is the easiest way for me to explain it to people. And so
Mm-hmm.
that was in April 2007. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I was 16 and I was just getting ready for my junior year of high school. And it wasn't immediately determined my diagnosis right away. I was just going through a lot of motions with trying to figure out what was happening. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I'll say in August of that same year was when I was diagnosed. And then I had my first eye surgery.
Yeah. I was diagnosed with pseudotumor cerebri when I was 20, and that was back in 2000. I know the exact date. I was diagnosed December 28th, 2018. And I think I know for sure because it's so recent.
Yeah,
It just
yeah.
happened. We enter in 5 years. So
Oh,
yeah.
you're a baby in the community.
I know. Oh baby. And I like for real, this is like last year was my first time. I went to Chris Cole. That was the first time I had ever been around so many blind people. Like
Mm.
honestly, I had never seen a blind person before. Like when I had my eyesight, I never seen a blind person, never seen a white cane in person or nothing. So to be, basically tossed into a community and you know nothing about it, it's kind of like you swirling around like with your head going crazy, like what's over there? What's everything at? And so
You know,
I've just been trying to find my way.
well, it's good you say that because a lot of times that's where the timidity come in, the shyness, the overwhelmness, because a lot of times we don't know what that look like. We've never
Mm-hmm.
seen it before. And the only
Mm-hmm.
two people I ever seen that were visually impaired were my great aunt, and then I had I think a third, maybe second cousin. But to be honest with you, I had never really spoken to them because I was a kid and everybody would be like, oh, that's the blind such and such. And I'd be like, oh, okay. We never really talked. So I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like you guys. I never met anyone who was blind. I didn't even know about the spectrum of vision loss.
Yeah.
So I
That.
started, learning more about what's different diagnoses. And I had a cousin, well, I have a cousin who is blind. And I remember seeing her in family photos, and it looked like something was impaired with her eye, but I didn't know like what it was. And my grandmother just told me that she was sick. And I was like, okay. And then as I started learning more about blindness, I'm like, oh, as soon as you blind, you sick.
Yeah, you are.
You know.
Right.
So, you know, but it wasn't even really that, you know, she just was blind, you know.
And then we became I remember my cousin in the car. She was talking to her friend, and she said, "I'm so sorry, but I'm about to stereotype you." And I'm like, "What would she mean by that?" Girl, she got in the car and she was like, "Oh, this is my blind cousin." I'm like, "Oh, I'm the blind cousin." So yes.
Yeah, and
Right.
what's crazy is it's like when you try to introduce yourself or introduce other like people introduce you or whatever,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
like one of my friends, she actually was like went to school, had another friend that was blind, and she was like, and when I lost my eyesight, she was like, oh, I have to introduce you to my blind friend I met out in school, and I'm like, girl, what? You have a blind friend? And she's like, yeah. And I said, you never said nothing about it. She said, what was there to say? And I'm like,
Mm.
you know what? You're right. Like, what was there to say? Like, oh yeah, I met this blind person, and, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you're so right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
it's
I,
so weird because, right, isn't it like how some people look at certain Asians, like all Asians look alike? So automatically
Mhm.
they make you feel like all blind people are the same. And,
Yeah.
yeah,
you know,
it's
Which is so
crazy.
untrue. So untrue.
Yeah, because it's a spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So, um, Krystle had went a little bit into it. And she said that it was not easy getting a diagnosis, and that was literally my next question: was how was the diagnosis process for you guys?
Well, for me, okay, so they asked so many questions. It was like, have you ever been cross-eyed before? It was just I can't even think of all of them right off the back right now, but it was so many before I got an actual diagnosis. It was one of the things that was really funny. They were asking my mom questions because I did used to wear glasses when I was younger, but it had nothing to do with the fact of me, losing my vision at this time. And so he
Mm-hmm.
was like, well, where are your glasses? So I would get my glasses. And I was thinking at first it was astigmatism. So I had
Mm-hmm.
like this really high pressure. My eyesight was very blurry. I couldn't understand why I couldn't drive at night or if it would rain and stuff like that. So when I went to the eye doctor, I was like, okay, I just need some maybe stronger glasses. It just felt like something was on my lens. And I was getting these really bad headaches. And then I started really stressing. Like I was really trying to figure out what was going on. And at that time, my son, he was 1. And so they just kept telling me they didn't know what it was. It was just, a lot of fluid, a lot of pressure that was causing it. So I didn't really learn about the pseudo tumor until probably weeks later, because they were just calling it optical nerve damage.
Yeah.
It was strange. It was really weird. It was just, well, you have to lose the weight. You need to do this. You need to do that. Because at
Mm-hmm.
that time I was, overweight, but I didn't think I was super overweight to the fact that it was causing issues with my eyesight.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a lot of stress at that time. I will tell you that it was, me working, going to school, trying to figure out how to be a single parent. And it was a lot.
Yeah, that does seem stressful. Krystle, do you want to share your process of being diagnosed?
sure. It was kind of like gradual. It started with me just going through the experience of the symptoms, like having headaches all day, every day. I was a
Mm-hmm.
teenager, so I was going through my little figuring out stage as a teenager. And I know I was working at a gift shop in a hospital that my mother worked in. And I noticed every day I was buying Tylenol from the gift shop that I was working at because my head was just killing me. And I remember one day going to the mall with a friend of mine and her younger brother. And her brother was like, why are her eyes like that? And I did not know a change in my eyes. Like I could still see everything, but I didn't know that my eyes started like bulging. And
Yeah.
when I just couldn't take it no more because I was like always tired. My head was hurting me so bad. I was vomiting clear fluid just out of nowhere. And always hearing this like ocean sound in my ear. And my grandmother worked at a hospital in a town called Irvington. And it was so funny because I was so sleepy and I was a teenager and I guess I was giving her little teenage problems. So she was like, we're gonna find out why you're really sleeping. So she thought I was pregnant. I was like, I gotta have sex, I think, to get pregnant first. I need a Virgin Mary. So it was so funny. Like, I'm like, Grandma, I think I gotta have sex first. So she took me to the hospital after she said her little thing because she's from Honduras. So, sometimes some Caribbean families to have their little way, they kind of treat you with love and a little harshness. So when we got there, at first, the eye doctor just told me my eyes were inflamed and that I had to come back in 2 weeks for some glasses. And it wasn't working. He gave me some eye drops. Nothing was helping me. I came back before 2 weeks was coming up, and there was a different eye doctor at the same place in the hospital, and he was like, he did more of a thorough exam on my eyes from the visual field test and everything. And in the end, it was like, that's when I really knew it was a serious problem because he just came in the room and was like, he had to tell us something. And that's when he said, I had pseudo tumor cerebri and I had to be rushed to the children's unit in another hospital to get better treatment because they didn't have a neurologist in the hospital that I was in. So, that's kind of like really was the start of the diagnosis.
I don't think they believed that I couldn't see or I was getting the headaches. It was almost like the way they kept asking questions. And I kept crying. So my mom was like, what's going on? Like, what we're going to do? And she's like, well, they'll come back and they'll talk to you about this. And because like you, I also was vomiting. It was just like everything was going, wrong, but I couldn't figure out what was the cause. So they asked me so many questions. And I remember the doctor coming in. It was because I went to a county hospital. So in this situation, they have a team of doctors because you have your students, then you have your instructor, and you have your main doctor. It's just so many people coming into the clinic. And so I was hospitalized at least 6 times. No, I'll take that back. It was like 4. It was either 4 or 5 times, but it was like every 2 weeks I would be in a hospital, like weeks at a time, because they were giving me so many medications. So I was on what is it, prednisone? It was so many medications, and I was like, okay, so you give me steroids, but you're telling me I'm overweight, and how is this helping? You know what I mean? Because it wasn't helping. And then I had a bad reaction to the potassium that they gave me because it was so much. And I think I didn't really get a full diagnosis, I think, until my fourth visit of the hospital.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And for us to be from the same place, going to the same doctors, but we still have different stories. So for me, I was out in college, living the high life.
Okay.
I just got my first apartment. I had my car at school this year. So I was a sophomore, freshman year, I didn't have my car. So I'm like, yeah. And I'm feeling like everything is kind of going right, but I was really stressed. And I started feeling bad. I had got a viral infection, and it was like, they were like, oh, I had took most of the medication before the campus doctors was like, oh, it's a viral infection, antibiotics not gonna help it. And I'm like, all right. So from there, from the end of October through November, I'm just sitting there like headaches, crazy. Like my neck hurt. Nobody could touch me. It was horrible. Like I was in so much pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the doctor, went to the emergency room. I went to the emergency room and they were like, well, you don't have any, direct trauma to your body. So we really can't do any MRIs or CT scans. I
Mm.
woke up I was driving on Saturday, woke up from a nap on Sunday with double vision.
Wow.
So in my head, I'm like, if I woke up with double vision, I'm gonna go to sleep and wake back up and my vision gonna be corrected. No. And what was crazy was I had went to the campus doctor previously, like on that Wednesday or Thursday of the week before. And he was like, if you start having double vision, come back. That Monday, on Sunday, I got double vision. Monday, that was the week of Thanksgiving. So I don't really remember anymore if I didn't go on campus that day because I didn't have class because it was
Mm.
Thanksgiving, like most teachers let you out for Thanksgiving break and a lot of people left,
Mm-hmm.
or why I didn't go to campus that day. But I knew I had to go to campus on that Tuesday. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wake up early, go to campus, and go see the doctor because he said to come back if I had double vision. Well, I didn't make it that far because they kept giving me muscle relaxers. And
Oh,
then
wow.
when I went to the emergency room, they was telling me, oh, you're not taking enough muscle relaxers. So I went through that whole process. I had to get rushed to the hospital. And from there, I left Huntsville and I came back to Dallas. I went to, all of the hospitals out here and they all turned me away. I went multiple times. Like they all turned me away. They was like, "Oh well," my mom's like, "Well, she has neck stiffness and she has a lot of pain in her back. Could it be meningitis?" And it's like, she was a college student. She got the vaccine, right? And I'm like, "Yeah, I got my meningitis vaccine." That's like, "Well, it can't be meningitis because you got the vaccine." So we like,
Oh,
"Okay,
wow.
well, what is it? Like, what's going on?" And this lady, I was like the day after the last holiday I seen was Thanksgiving of 2018. And I was so drained. I could barely walk.
Mm.
It was my eyes were bulging, like they were big, and my vision had went from double in one eye to blurred in both eyes. And it was just bad. It was just so traumatic. And I was like sitting here going to all of these doctors. My mama, like I had faux locks. My mom was like, maybe your braids are too heavy. Take your hair down. I took my hair down and everything. And nothing was helping the headaches. My ears was ringing. It was just bad. And
Mm.
so the day after Thanksgiving, I went to the hospital again. And this time, a older lady was sitting there and she was like, "What's wrong with you? You look so young." And she was talking about it. And she was like, "You know what? Have you asked them if it's a neuro problem?" And I'm like, "No." And so they had called me to the back and I went back there and I was like, they was trying to discharge me. And I was like, they was like, all of your tests are fine. And I'm like, have you guys checked to see if it was a neuro problem? And then they was like, oh, we didn't check for that.
Oh,
What?
wow. Yeah, wow.
What? Am I doing your job?
Get on my nerves.
It's a lady who just see me in the hospital. What? So
Right.
we went through that, and she actually they was like, okay, well, yeah, we're gonna go check for it. So I went and took a CT scan that night. Then I had to wait a really long time to see a neurologist at the hospital. And so the neurologist was like, yeah, something is definitely wrong. And then he was like, we're gonna get you a referral for an MRI. You know, they set me up for an MRI a whole month later.
Oh,
Like
wow.
after Christmas. Like it was bad. I was like, I can't wait that long. My mama was like on the phone with them, like, they're like, we're so backed up. That's the earliest we can get her. And it was like, no, she has chronic pain. And so we just went to my primary care doctor, and then he took immediate action. But that sent me through a different hospital. And I had to go to like a private neurologist and all of this and that. It was just a lot. But they didn't diagnose me with pseudo tumor. They diagnosed me with GBS, which is Guillain-Barré syndrome. And so that's what they treated me for in the hospital, was Guillain-Barré syndrome. And my mama kept saying, like, are y'all going to do anything about her eyes? What about her eyes? And it was like, we don't have an ophthalmologist. Well, call one.
Right.
And so they were
doctor.
just like, well,
Oh, wow.
at this point, I had lost mobility in the left side of my body. I could not lift my left leg, my left arm. I lost so much weight. Like I lost my whole right side of my body had went completely numb, and I lost all of the muscle mass basically in the left side of my body. So I had to go through rehabilitation, learn how to walk again, learn how to use my arm, brush my teeth, all of that. And it was just a really long process for me still over a month later to not be diagnosed. I finally went to a neuro-ophthalmologist after Christmas, and he looked at the CT scans and the lumbar punctures that they did and the MRIs. And he was like, they didn't, because he was like, they should have put you on steroids as soon as they seen the elevated pressure. And I was like, well, they didn't. And he was like, they didn't? And I'm like, no. And so he was like, okay, well, you have. And then that's what he was telling me. Like, I had excess fluid on my spine, behind my eyes, and that he was going to put me on this treatment plan. But if the plan didn't work, then I was going to have emergency surgery. And that's eventually what ended up happening. But, you know, we jumping ahead on the questions. So, but that's just my diagnosis story. It took a long time, and a lot of the doctors was like, just like y'all said, y'all was throwing up. I was throwing up. They was like, I went early before I started throwing up. They was like, well, if you were really sick, you would be throwing up. You wouldn't be able to walk. You would be doing this. And I eventually got to that point. But at that point, it was nothing I could do. You wanted me to sit in a Dallas County emergency room and y'all take 5 hours plus. Like,
I was in there for 13 hours. Now they have changed a lot since then. But yes, I was in there for 13 hours in the waiting room.
Yeah.
We were at the same hospital, I believe.
Yeah. And I'm sitting here like going through.
Shall remain nameless.
Yeah. You know, they connected though. You and Dallas, you know who we talking about. But they're connected and they use each other for resources. But you know what's crazy is Children's, and Krystle talked about going to Children's. Children's has a specialized department for Pseudo Tumor Cerebri. When I looked it up, they had a specialized department for Pseudo Tumor Cerebri. And I'm like, for all of these hospitals to be right here, you couldn't have called another doctor from another hospital and been like, hey, I have a patient that's doing this and this. And I believe what Melva said, they didn't believe. They thought I was exaggerating, or
because what I've learned so far during my research, there is not a lot of research done in adults. And the reason why is because with adults, according to research, they are unable to reverse the damaged nerves. So that's why you will probably see it more prevalent with children's hospital, things like that. And so, because when I did a lot of my research, I was trying to figure out like what's going on, because a lot of people were telling me, well, this is mostly common in children. And so, and I kept asking, well, okay, so since it's damaged, we can't fix the damaged nerve. Well, because you are an adult now, we can't fix that. And I'm like, oh wow, this is hard. So like y'all was saying, I never really had double vision. It was just super blurry. Like it felt like a plastic bag was over my eyes. Like it was a clear spot in certain spots, but then there's no clear spots. Like it was kind of like if you would go to a grocery store. You remember how you used to have the white bags? I think they're gray now, but like you have a white bag and it was just stretched out, but you can kind of see through it a little bit, but you can't really see through it. That's and it's very spotty. That's how my vision and it's also like the snow on the television. So it's like snowy, blurry, spotted. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Is that what y'all
Krystle,
see? I mean, I'm over here asking questions now. Is that what y'all see? Because I always wanted, I'm curious to know where people that also have the same diagnosis, like what do they see? Because
yeah, I was just about to ask that. I'm glad
our
you
blindness
asked.
are all on a spectrum, but what like you can see some things, right?
Well,
Pseudo tumor.
Krystle, you can go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think pseudo tumor is a spectrum all by itself.
Mm-hmm.
We like it's so much misdiagnosis with the research, misdiagnosis with the diagnosis.
Girl.
The doctors, they don't. I feel like the doctors need to communicate with each other across the board. I don't understand because, like you said, it was more prevalent with children, but when I was diagnosed, they said to me, my specialist, that it's more prevalent in people in their late 30s, early 40s, and they just couldn't understand why I was having this diagnosis when I was just 16 and I wasn't stressed. I didn't have any, I mean, I had my teenage stress, but that was just teenage stress, and I didn't have a high salt intake. I wasn't like severely overweight then, I was just 143 pounds before, all of this started happening. And it wasn't until I was put on prednisone where I got syndrome in my face, where my cheeks are so chubby and my back whitened even more and my belly got bigger. And because I was just in and out of the hospital for a whole year doing all of these different tests and procedures and MRIs and CAT scans and localization and all of these different things that they were doing. And then they said to me too, if I lose weight, it might get better. But I'm like, you got me on prednisone. It's blowing me up. So.
Yeah, and eating hard.
And you want to know what's crazy? Because Melva said, they said it's prevalent in children. You said they prevalent in 30, 31, 35 and up. When I did the research, they said, oh, you're right in the age range. It's between the childbearing age, which is between 19 and 35. I was 19 when I first started having symptoms. So I'm like, now I'm sitting here like, is my research wrong or they all just?
I think they just come up with stuff just to be coming up with it. Yeah, because I lost my vision was at 17, almost 17 years ago. So it's one of those things that I think research changes. I think whoever come up with some of these stuff, they don't really know. I feel like there should be a study group. I don't think there's ever have been a study group for people that lost their vision through Pseudo Tumor Cerebri, because what a lot of people don't know is it's not a tumor. It acted as if we had a tumor, so that's why it's called a pseudo tumor. And so I'd always try to figure out like, what in my life caused for something to act as if I had something and I didn't. You know what I mean? Like it's stress. They say, oh, it could be stress. It was because you were overweight. I totally get that. Totally understand it, but at the end of the day, it's like, really a tumor? Like, come on now. That's
what triggered that?
Right, what triggered that? Come on.
I would say that I remember your question. You asked about our vision.
Yes.
So if anybody can relate to seeing static on a TV,
Yep.
That's what my central vision looks like. I don't have any central vision. Now, I do have light perception, but I believe that's really because of my left peripheral. In my left peripheral, I can see light, and if it's a discrete if it's a distinct contrast, so if something is really bright against something that's really dark, I can see that. But otherwise, I can't see anything besides that the light is on or off. And that's mainly in my left peripheral. Now, my right eye, I'm gonna close my eye, see what I can see. Now, I can still see that the light is on, like that there's light around me, but it's not as focused, I would say, as when I use my left eye and I have my left eye open. I can kind of directly see where the light source is coming from. And my right eye, I cannot, which is weird because I got double vision in my left eye. My right eye was perfectly fine. And then, but they say that's because you put so much pressure on that eye to focus and see, and then the fluid travels over. So, yeah, that was crazy. Krystle, what do you see?
Well, in my left eye is hand motion and light. So lights are on and off, and the daylight from the night light. And I have like it's really blurry. And if you remember, using a remote control, and when you switch channels, you see that red laser dot. So I see two red laser. Well, I'm not gonna say two, but it's multiple red laser dots just blinking, 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 blinking in both eyes.
Goodness. Yeah, it's like sparkles.
Yeah, it's red. When I first started with this diagnosis, it used to be like a huge red laser line that I would see out of my left eye, and then one little blinking red dot out of my right eye. But now it's just like dots, just blinking, 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 whether my eyes are open or closed. And in my right eye, it's the same laser red dot that I see, but it's blurry. I see out of my peripheral mainly. And I used to be able to read at long periods of time with closed circuit TVs, even the little desktop ones that were like a little more compact. But as the years have gone, like the way my vision became impaired when I was 16 to now, it's been a decline, a major decline. And but I can see facial expressions when I'm like nose to nose with someone. But I can't see a street light on and off. I can't determine certain colors if they seem too close in family. Like orange and pink looks the same to me. Indian brown looks the same to me. And sometimes if something is gray, like certain steps might be gray, it might look like just one landing. It won't look like a bunch of steps. So thank God for the cane, because I'd be falling.
Girl, same here. So yellow and green to me look so much alike. I almost can't tell a difference. And I'll be like, oh, that's green. They're like, no, that's yellow. I'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't see colors. The only color I see and have seen is white. And that's just because it's so bright against something so dark. But I can't see colors. As I was going through my process of losing my eyesight, again, I started off with double vision in my left eye, and then both of my eyes went blurred. And then it just started to descend from there. By my 20th birthday, that was only 2 weeks in between. By my 20th birthday, I could see holographic, like really, really shiny stuff. That was pretty much it. I had stopped being able to see a lot of colors by the time I left the rehabilitation center, and I was there for 2 weeks. I was at the rehabilitation center for 2 weeks, and when I entered, I was able to make out some colors. But by the time I left, I wasn't able to identify barely any of the colors. I was really, really straining hard to see like anything, to make out anything was really hard. Um it's been crazy. And so I wanted to ask you guys, we've been talking about prednisone and potassium, and we talk about how they say weight loss could help us, with this diagnosis. And I want to get more in detail about the different treatment plans that they say. So for me, my treatment plan was take these medications. I had Diamox, I had furosemide, I had gabapentin, potassium, I had so much stuff. They gave me so much stuff to take. And I kid you not, I was probably taking like 30 pills a day. And it was like having like, they give you the water pill so you can get the fluid off of you, but you're peeing like a pregnant woman. And so it's like, okay. And then that still didn't work. And so I had to have surgery. I had it's called optic nerve decompression surgery.
In your eyes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
In my eyes. And my doctor actually did surgery on both of my eyes at the same time, when he normally only did one eye at a time to see, if the surgery will work or whatnot. But he was like, you have such an urgent case. Like, we have to get back there and get that fluid from behind your eyes. And I'm like, okay. And he was like, the results of it would have been after surgery. I was supposed to be able to start to see shadows a little bit more. And then he said that my vision would eventually clear up. Well, I went into surgery with my blurred vision. I could still make out a lot of shapes. Again, it was with a heavy contrast, but I could still make out people shapes and stuff like that. When I left surgery, I have the vision that I had. Well, I didn't even have the vision I have now. When I came out of surgery, I seen darkness. It was dark. I could barely see the light. And I'm like, maybe because it's nighttime now.
See, I felt like that too with my eye surgeries. So, just to give you a little backstory, when I first went in, I didn't actually have any surgery. So what they were doing was kind of doing the, forget what they call it, LP, the spinal tap. So I was getting a lot of those done. So it was basically what that is pulling the pressure off of my spinal cord. So I was pulling all of that fluid. That's what they were doing in the beginning. But that wasn't helping because my pressure was continuously getting higher. So actually in my left eye, I had no pressure. And then in my right eye, the pressure was high. So what they did was they tried to go in and reconstruct it, I guess. And so I went in and I had the eye surgeries done. So I think I had the left eye done first because that is still my worst eye because it's more so hand motion. Now I can see out of my peripheral, but of course it's not clear. And once I had the eye surgery, the left eye done, they, had the little patch on it. So then the next time they did the right eye. Now, I started to see, I don't know if y'all had a chance to watch Ray Before Losing Your Vision.
Yeah.
But you know how like the colors were bleeding from certain spots? That's what it seemed like. Like the blues, everything was kind of like a droopy colorish. You know what I mean? Like it was starting to kind of just spread. So that's what I was trying to explain to them. I can see like they would give me the eye charts. So I wasn't reading the eye chart from the wall. They would give it to me like this little cord, like a little piece of paper. And I would read it, had to put it all the way up to my face like this, and then I can bag away from it. And I was just reading those letters. Now, I could always see that big E. The big E was fine. It was the letters down towards the bottom I couldn't see. And then the colors, everything was like a real droopy color. But the most thing that they were really trying to get from me was the headaches. My headaches were like in the back of my neck, like somebody was pounding my head with just a hammer. I was like, I can't believe it's just a constant pain. So my blood pressure was always up, but the blood pressure was up because of the headaches. And so once they figured out how they can get rid of the headaches is when they went back in and tried to redo the eye surgery. But I actually have a shunt, which is a small tube that goes from the top of my brain. It's like a little bitty tube, and it kind of goes from there all the way behind my ear back into the front of my neck, and it goes down into my stomach, which basically relieves the pressure. So it's like fluids draining down, and it helps it to stay off my brain. So it actually helps to prevent the headache. So I don't typically have headaches like I was in the past. They still come and go, but it's not super, super overwhelming because I used to just have to put a cover on top of my head and just sleep. Like I was feeling so bad the whole time.
Yes, I know. They had that headache that was in the back of my head, and it'd be like it was so bad I couldn't even lay on the back of my head. Like, and then imagine being in a hospital bed when all you can do is lay on your back.
Yeah, because when you lay backwards like that, all of that pressure is popping back there, and it was making my eyes feel real puffy. Like I would just have tears coming out my eyes because it was, of course, fear, but also it was like, what is happening to me? But there was a constant pain that I was feeling.
Yeah, me, I, before all of the hospitalizations, I was having the headaches all day and night, and it would be hard to lift my head, to turn my neck. I feel like I'm gonna collapse when walking. And then once they started treating me, the first thing I got was Lasix, and that's supposed to be a diuretic also. But I was just seeing a neurologist at the time, and then when they realized it also was associated with my vision, I was referred to a neuro-ophthalmologist, and he did my first eye surgery in August of, I think, 2000 or 2001. I know it was the same year that Aaliyah passed. And yes, and he chose what he said to me, which eye do you want to do first? And I said the left eye because I think it's worse. And so he did my left eye first, and the surgery he performed was called sheath penetration, where they cut a window in the back of your eyes so that the fluid would drain off. Because what pseudo tumor is it's pressure in the head from the fluid, the excessive fluid we build, because water has weight. So all this fluid that we're building, from some of the information I would get from my specialist, because I would ask my specialist 10 million questions. You're talking all this doctor language, and that's wonderful and great because you went to school for it, but you got to
be straight. Yeah.
Like, I'm glad you know what you know, but just tell me a different way. So I would not leave the room. And even at a younger age, like when you're young and you're going through different medical things, you're not thinking about asking a doctor X, Y, and Z all the time. You got your parents there. My mother, she was a tiger with them daggone doctors. They gave me an appointment that was a month away. She would curse them out. My daughter can't, and I can't deal with this. Nope. You got my insurance card. Get her in there right away. She's going through it. All of this stuff. She would just have such an uproar, but she was asking for me because, yes, doctors have many patients. You're not the only patient, but when it's a situation, it's a life-changing situation.
Exactly.
Like it changes your whole entire life. And my mom's not a doctor, so she's like, the doctors got to do what they're getting paid to do. They're getting all this money, this big salary. Like, you have to take care of your patient thoroughly. So in my case, once we realized that I needed a neuro-ophthalmologist, having that first eye surgery, I think maybe a few weeks later, I did my right eye, and my vision wasn't fully impaired at the time. I feel like it didn't start really getting worse until after the eye surgery. And then also, we also had to determine why the pseudo tumor began, because like they kept telling me it was very rare for my age group. And it was determined when they were looking through my prescription history. I was being treated by a dermatologist, and 7 out of the 25 medications he prescribed to me contained tetracycline. And tetracycline is what initiated the pseudo tumor, which then my vision becoming impaired. And so it was basically a medical malpractice through the dermatologist, because tetracycline, when you have too much of it, your body will react to it as if it's an overdose. And it started to form the symptoms of the tumor, because I would build, I think one time I was in ICU, and they had me in ICU for like 2 weeks because they put me on a temporary shunt, because they wanted to see in different positions that I was laying in how much fluid I would build, because the normal levels of our cerebrospinal fluid should be between 12 and 16, and they call it the CCs. We all have cerebrospinal fluid, to help with the function of our brain. Right. So mine will rise to 38. And, when it gets up in the 30s, those are really dangerous levels, because it can lead to a brain aneurysm. So when I was in the hospital and they had me hooked up to the IV and the little fluid bag to count how much fluid I would produce in different positions, they learned that when I was laying flat on my back, I built the most fluid, and like in maybe 2 hours, they would have to change the bag. It was 500 cc's of fluid, and it would be that much fluid I would produce just under 3 hours. So it was a lot. And then I even went through the papilledema, where the optic nerves rupture. That's why my eyes were bulging so much, and they were inflamed from the swelling of the weight of the fluid. It was a lot of things with this pseudo tumor. It takes you through changes, you know?
Yeah, it really does.
It does.
And I don't feel like you said that, you asked a lot of questions. See, me, when I asked the questions, I still wasn't receiving the answers. And I remember the first time I went to my neuro-ophthalmologist, I feel like all doctors do that anyways, but he was like, "Why are you here today?" And I'm like, "Can't you see? I can't see."
Exactly.
Like you ain't read my file before you walked in here.
What brings you in? What? Trying to see.
Then he took me for a spin with that one. I said, "What?"
Yeah,
but I can say, huh?
Yeah, I was gonna say they don't have. Go ahead, Krystle.
Oh, sorry. I was saying it's like that question, is there a segue or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No bedside manners is what they don't.
Man, I sit in that chair like, I busted out laughing. I said, "What you mean while I'm here?" I can't see. Right. But I can't say. I would say the benefit to having my surgery was that I lost all of my symptoms. Like, I really don't have a relapse in a lot of my symptoms. Like, I might get ringing ears, okay, or I might get a real bad headache, but those are like every blue moon. So as soon as I had surgery, all of my symptoms disappeared. Like, they were gone. Neck stiffness, my neck was fine, my back stopped hurting, my headaches was gone. I was just so happy to not be suffering anymore. I was like, "Whoo, I'm so glad I got that surgery done." And so I kind of think about that, like, would I rather, be in pain with vision, or would I rather have the vision that I have and not be suffering in pain? And so I kind of like look at it like that. I'm like, well, at least, I'm not in pain every day. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I had to look at the bright side because I was like, man, I went in there being able to see, and that doctor took my vision.
I'm actually glad that you found some humor in it and funny because, honey, I was not laughing. I was crying every time someone said blind, the word blind, anything visually impaired. I was crying. I think that's also one of my bigger issues in that moment is that was also causing more stress because I was so sad. I was so upset. And the whole time I was just thinking about my son. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen because here's this cute little face that I probably won't be able to get to see again. And I remember the day I went to the hospital, I put him some clothes on. He had a blue and white shirt. It was stripes, and he had his little cute little pants, jeans on, some shorts. And I remember just staring into his face. I just put both my hands on his face, and it was like, I hope I can still see this face after the surgery. Because I asked my mom to take me to the doctor, and when I went, honey, I went in to see a little bit. I was able to walk in the hospital by myself. Of course, it was blurry, but I came back out, honey. Of course, they put you in a wheelchair when you're being discharged, but I couldn't see nothing. Like it was just like it was light outside. It was totally different.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. I have like a similar type of feeling because I never, well, I never got to see one of my sons, and I'm like in the process. I'm like, oh, I kind of want to be able to one day see my son. I'm like, yeah, I want to see this little chocolate baby right here. So, yeah, I would also say that. Oh, you had said something, and now I done totally forgot what was I about to say. Um, while I think about it,
I'm saying it'll come back.
it'll come back. Uh, so what is a piece of advice you would give doctors that specialize in this diagnosis?
One thing is to have better bedside manners when it comes to it. You never know what a person may be dealing with. So asking that question, what brings you here? Why are you here today? Yeah, it may seem like it's breaking the ice, but it's very sticky. You know what I mean? It's one of those situations. But also, just to kind of hear what Krystle was saying, like she was asking questions, and it's to be more in layman terms, like have this conversation with the person. Don't talk to, around the person. Don't talk to the other family members in the room. Like speak directly to the person and ask if they understand. Because sometimes I remember me thinking like it was so many people. I was so in this position of, yeah, I'm on a spotlight because it's my vision, but I don't even know what questions to ask. I don't even know, you know what I mean? All I know is, am I going to get my vision back? Is something else going to happen to me? Am I going to die here on this table? These are the questions that I had in my head that I was asking, but like you weren't telling me what my diagnosis was. You weren't telling me why this is happening to me. I was getting this from just overhearing the nurses talk, or they're sitting at a computer screen, they all talking to each other. Talk to me. I'm here. Have a conversation with me.
Yeah, I
think sometimes I think it was an insurance thing too.
No, for real. If that insurance ain't here for nothing, they like, child.
Like she ain't got no insurance. We ain't gonna spend that much time on her. That's how I felt. Like I felt like, oh, we're gonna come in here, we're gonna just do what we can, and we're not gonna go above or beyond to figure out what's going on. Like
it reminds you. Remember that movie John Q with Denzel Washington?
Oh
yes. Yeah, it was.
I hear people talk about it. I've never seen it.
Well, girl. It's like, he was fighting for his son to get what was it? Was it a heart or something?
I think it was a heart. Yeah, it was something because he got really sick. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and like you could see the backstory of the administrative office as they were like examining his financial resources to get that heart and to get this. Like they were really playing Russian roulette with that little boy's life, and that's what they do in this medical field. Like if you're on Medicaid, if you're on Medicare, if you have charity care, or if you have nothing and you're a minority, like they will not push full effort into your medical treatment. Like they will die, or make your life have to go through some severe deformity because of money. Because after all, the hospital and medical field, it's a business. So they're looking for those dollars. Yes, they're supposed to care about our health. They take an oath after all. But at the end of the day, money talks. And if you don't have it, you're not going to get the best care, or you're going to get the runaround. And if you don't able to advocate for yourself, or if you don't have a strong support system, then sometimes you might get pushed to the back burner over something that's really life changing. And that's any position.
Yeah, and I just feel like that's horrible. Like I just can't even get into it because I feel like I had good insurance. And the lady, when I went to the rehabilitation center, they said I had GPS, and that's the diagnosis they gave me. They said they was treating me for it, blah blah blah. All right, cool. And when I went to the rehabilitation center, one of the nurses came in there and it's like, they don't know what's wrong with you. I'm like, what? Yes, they do. And she's like, no, they don't. In the hospital you was at, they don't have the resources you need. You need to go to a different hospital so they can really run the tests and exams that they need to, because you aren't getting the full potential of care that you were supposed to be getting. Yeah. And I'm like, what? And that sent my mama into a frenzy. I was like,
I bet, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Did this lady just come in here and tell me that basically she said she blatantly said they just gave you a diagnosis because that's the only thing they could come up with. I would say advice to professionals in this field, in the doctors and people who are doing research on Pseudo Tumor Cerebri, you guys need to ask patients. Y'all need to conduct a study group with patients that say, hey, did this treatment option work? Did this treatment option work? How did this go? Like, do you find that this still works and all of this and that? Y'all need to do updated research, do these study groups with people to get more recent information, because what y'all have been doing has not been working.
Right.
Yeah. And pseudo tumor continues to evolve. Like more women are being diagnosed now because of certain types of birth control.
And I believe it was birth control for me.
And then it's like we get misdiagnosed. Why? Because we're minorities, we're women of color, we're women. Like other races don't get the same response that we get when we go to look for medical care. I'm like, it's really sad. So it's like, it depends on your insurance and it depends on your ethnic background if you're going to get proper treatment in certain places.
I don't know, is this true enough? But to be honest with you, ladies, I have never met a different, well, let me see, how should I word it? A different type of race, or someone that is not African American, Black, that has Pseudo Tumor Cerebri.
I have it in person.
Okay.
Now, online, I have, but they all still have their vision. They all got help way faster. It was like immediate action. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
Yeah. My brother's girlfriend, she was just diagnosed with pseudo tumor. Her vision isn't affected. And she went into the ER and she said she wasn't feeling any symptoms. I was so scared for her because I know what I went through. And I just telling her, ask those doctors this, ask them that. Don't let them take you there until you get the answer to this question and that question. make sure they give you an MRI, all of these things, and I'm telling her, I'm texting my brother. I'm like, give me her number.
Let me talk to the source.
Right. Like, I need her to be taken care of because, it was really a very uncertain experience at first.
Yeah.
Of course, you go through your adjustment period because at the end of the day, if you're blessed to, get through the challenges of pseudo tumor, you still have to live your life. So I've heard she doesn't have any vision problems right now, thank God. And I met a nurse who had pseudo tumor when I first began with, my journey, and her vision was not affected. So it really truthfully is a spectrum. And you're right, Ariana, like they do need to contact the patients with lived experience when they're doing these studies. And they need to really like stick with the times of things because medicine is constantly evolving and people's symptoms to different conditions are always evolving also because like what we experience originally might be some different than someone else's experience today,
Right.
So
Yes.
Have you both heard the word atrophy? Like I know, so the doctors
Optic
from the
nerve
hospital,
atrophy.
yes.
mm-hmm.
So the doctors both, of course, diagnosed with Pseudo Tumor Cerebri, but once I got to the low vision clinic and I was doing, my eye testing, the field test, I couldn't stand that test. That's when it came to be the optic nerve atrophy. I'm like, so wait a minute, are these two different things? I was super confused.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what they diagnosed me with too. It's like they're interconnected, pseudo tumor cerebri and bilateral optic atrophy.
Yeah.
So that's what mine is supposed to be called. I don't know if that's the name they gave you too.
I didn't get that. I started heard about optic nerve atrophy when I actually like probably last year when I dove into the blind community and I was learning about all of these different types of blindness. And I'm like, hold on, what?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I remember what I wanted to say. Yes, it's when Melva commented on, like she said, she was sad every time she heard the word blind and stuff like that. For me, I know it was after was it after it had to be after I had my surgery. And, my friends are very inquisitive. My family's inquisitive. They're like, so what's going on? What's the update? What they saying? What they saying? What they saying? I'm like, girl, they said I'm visually impaired. What that means, girl? You know just as much as me. And so I got really, really tired of trying to explain, what visually impaired means. So I went to the doctor, my next doctor's appointment. I'm like, sir, am I blind? And he was like, yes. And I was like, okay, cool. And he was like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Because I honestly, I don't use the term, like, when I'm addressing the whole community, I'll say visually impaired people or whatever. But me, I just be like, blind. I like the word blind. It's just so easy to tell somebody, hey, I'm blind. When you say I'm visually impaired, they want to, oh, so how impaired are you? Don't worry about it. Because now you about to go down a rabbit hole, and I don't have time. So if we get into the conversation about my eyesight, I can go into details, but I just hit them off back. I'm blind. And it's so simple for me. And that's why it's blind intelligence. Yes. I can't, Professor Blindie, like Professor visually impaired. It don't hit the same. So, yeah, I agree. We've been having a really, really good discussion. I really liked what Krystle said about, you said your brother, it's a girlfriend or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, your brother girlfriend. That's me. Anytime somebody say they go into the emergency room, I'm like, tell them to check for this. I'm like coaching them throughout the whole process. And I feel like, as a person, we know you know, again, like you said, the trauma behind being diagnosed, misdiagnosed, not knowing what's going on, the uncertainty. And it's like, okay, we don't want you to go through that. So let me go ahead and tell you, ask this question.
Right.
This question goes set off another line of a string of questions. And, you know, you probably going to get a clear answer. Because had I known what Pseudo Tumor Cerebri was, or even just a branch of what Pseudo Tumor Cerebri could be connected to and stuff like that, I would have came out the gate. Do you think I have this? Like how my mama was offering up diagnoses and they was like, nope, nope, nope. If we would have offered up Pseudo Tumor Cerebri, I feel like we would be having a whole nother conversation right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And you said that Melva also said that she hasn't you said you haven't met anybody outside the African American race, really, with Pseudo Tumor Cerebri. I haven't met them in person, but I have. What's really crazy is I met a girl, we was at the same college. We went to college together, like, you know, we just never talked. But she got diagnosed with pseudotumor a year after I did. But she still had her vision. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, like, what? Okay, that was the first time I heard that. Now, the second time I heard that in my like real life experience, because you know, you always see the people on social media and whatnot. But in my real life experience, you know, we're getting ready for the Pseudo Tumor Cerebri Awareness Walk. And I just celebrated my boy's first birthday. And I had somebody come and decorate or whatever. My sister calls me and she's like, oh, I invited the girl that decorated your party to the walk. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. She's like, yeah, because y'all had the same diagnosis. I said, wait, what?
Wow.
And she was like, yeah, she's diagnosed with pseudotumor too, like maybe 3 years ago. I'm like, wait, what? She can see and stuff? She's like, yeah. I was like, I need her doctor information. It is so crazy to me. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. And the diagnosis, after the diagnosis, and they're telling you you're blind, you're legally blind, or whatever they're saying the outcome is. Like, it's almost like in a way they're kind of deciding your life.
Mm-hmm.
When I was told I was legally blind, like my doctor didn't want me to go to school for a year. And I'm still a teenager. Gotta get my education, right? So
Yes.
I'm like, what is gonna happen? He's like, he doesn't want me to be stressed with having to worry about studying and all of these other things because I have to go through so much treatment. And I'm like, wow. So a portion of my junior and senior year, I was homeschooled because I was in and out of the hospital so much. And I had a little trauma with me when I was a teenager. Like every time I make my bed, I get kept in the hospital. I'm not making my bed. And I'm like, I'm not gonna make my bed because they're not gonna make me stay in that hospital. And so and then
you do start associating stuff like because I can relate.
Yeah, so it's like, you know, and then my doctor told me by the time I turn 30, I'd be totally blind. So it's like some of these things have a little power in it if you let it. And I feel like, you know, they can diagnose, but only so much, and their determinations can only go but so far too. Because you know, I'm past 30 now and I'm not totally blind. You know, so in a way, sometimes those diagnoses they could like feed into your mind too, to the point where whatever they said sometimes becomes a little reality if you just get so stuck on it, you know. So with my specialist, even though I feel like he was very open with me, I felt like, you know, you can't determine my life. You don't know what's going to happen. And even though I'm grateful that I don't have the pain that I experienced, if I did get posed with the opportunity to restore my vision, I would take it. I really would. Nobody wakes up and says, oh, I can't wait to be blind. Like
Right.
nobody's doing that. We're living our life and we're still being happy because, we're blessed,
Yeah.
It's a lot of people going
Mm-hmm.
through a lot of other things worse than what we went through, but it's still our story nonetheless. So if I could get an option, then I would take that option. I'll do some heavy research first though.
Cause
Because
y'all
I'm
ain't about to
not gonna
tamper with what I got.
Exactly. I was just about to say that for me, I would not want to go through any more surgeries. I went through so many surgeries during that process and that time. I'm like, no, if it's not America, and I don't wake up and be like, "Ooh, girl, there go that vision right there." I'm not doing it. Like honestly, at the end of the day, I've made peace with it. I have adjusted pretty well. I think there are some days where I have my moments. I'm like, oh, I wish I had my vision, but I feel like at this point in my life, I've accomplished so much as an individual that's visually impaired, blind, BVI, however you choose to say it. I'm okay. Like, but yeah, I wish those moments to have vision? Of course, honey, because if I did, y'all better catch me because I'll be driving her. I told Chris I'm driving to Jersey. I ain't even catching a flight. I'm cross country in it.
Yeah. For me, um, I'm like Krystle. And like they gave me the opportunity to get my vision back then. I'm jumping on it. Like, ooh, like I say, I'm so prepared for them to come up with a way for me to regenerate this optic nerve. Let me tell you, I kept my kids stem cells. I'm like, yeah, we gonna work on it. Cause I'm like, oh my goodness. Again, with the vision I have now, I've technically only had it 4 years, but it's been 5 years in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And well, it really because it's like December 2018. Then I lost my vision for real after surgery in January 2019. So really it's a month apart, but it counted like a whole year, but whatever. Anywho, it's just like it's crazy because I'm like, I'm still, to me, I feel like I lived and I continue to live in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And in a certain extent, like my fashion, like when I'm trying to pick out my own outfits and stuff, I'm still in 2018. Like, oh, I want to wear this. It's like, girl, that is not the trend anymore. But I like it because I know how I look. Or
See,
so stuff.
I've got away from that. I'm not a trendy person. I go with what fits on me, what I feel like looks cute on me, and I'm working it. I think too, from it's just maybe age. I'm 38. I'm 38, so I'll be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. We have been given some gems and stuff like that. Is there anything you guys will want to say to as advice for anyone who has this diagnosis and may run across this video?
Hmm.
Mm,
Well, I can say it's a quote I always share with people because, this is a journey and it can really affect you in multiple ways, good, bad, or indifferent. So I will leave with saying, one, don't be afraid to ask questions.
yeah.
Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself and do your research the best way you can. And don't allow your doubts to be bigger than your dreams because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just because you're losing your eyesight, just because you get a diagnosis, does not mean that's the end of your world, your life. You can
Yeah. Yeah.
rejuvenate yourself and reach whatever level of happiness or success that you aspire to do.
Exactly. That was
Love
great.
it.
What do you
Yes.
say after that?
Right? Listen, honestly, I would say don't allow, because your blindness does not define you. Yes, it's a part of your identity now, but it doesn't define you. And
Mm-hmm.
so embrace what makes you unique, even if it makes others feel uncomfortable. And that's a quote by Janae Monáe. I love it so much because it encompasses so much. You know, we are different and unique in our own way. So embrace it, love it, nurture it, treat it, you know, talk about it. This is what we do, you know, because if no one else has talked about Pseudo Tumor Cerebri, you wouldn't know about it, or you wouldn't feel that connection. Like if we would just be like, oh, I'm just blind, but I wouldn't have that connection with you two ladies because you both have went through some of the same experiences I've been through. So to be able to hear it from two women that has experience like me, I'm like, okay, I'm not alone. And so it's really good to be in the world to know that you're not alone.
Yes. Yes. I would say definitely seek to find a community of people with a similar diagnosis, with a shared experience. And like Krystle said, also do as much research as you can. Because for me, had I actually did research on what the surgery was that I was going to get and like what was the real benefits and cons of that surgery, I might have chosen or opted not to get it, or for him to, I would have tried to really put my foot down, like, no, we only gonna do one eye at a time. Like things could have been different. And you know, it's not good to live in a what if state. So if you can do as much as you possibly can in the beginning, as they're throwing all of these medical jargon words at you, and we like, hold on, I need PTC for idiots. What's that mean? Like, we all just want to figure it out. And I would say, just, you know, find the community, because you can always find a community in us. We got Living Beyond Limits on here. We got eyes like mine. You already know Professor Blindie with blindIntelligence. You already got 3 sources.
Yeah.
So reach out, and, you know, you have a team within us, at least, because we already know the experience. Cause Melva, what's that that saying, living beyond limits go by? What they be saying? With unity, there's community.
Yes, where there's unity, there's community. Listen,
okay,
you want to, because here's the beauty of it. Sometimes you get alone and you feel like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this, I just want to go to the mall. Girl, baby, we can go to the mall, honey. We can make this work.
Yeah. And we are living unapologetically blind. Living comfortably with our vision and in our skin. So
yeah.
And we can too.
Yes, because eyes like mine are, it's all of the G's, going, glowing, growing. Yeah. It's something like that. I almost had it.
Yeah, going.
But they be blind, booked and busy. Let's take that.
Yes. Love it. I love it.
Yeah. So thank you all so much for participating, and thank you everybody for watching. I feel like this is great. We needed this. I needed this.
And I learned.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I learned a lot from y'all. Like right here in this setting. Like, what? They said what? Yes. Oh, and anybody want to discuss upcoming events?
Sure. So, of course, Living Beyond Limits, we have partnered up with blindIntelligence for our first, well, this is her second, and joining together is our first Pseudo Tumor Cerebri walk, awareness walk, which will be September 23rd at Keys Park here in Dallas, Texas. So come on out. I'm pretty sure she's going to attach a link in the description box. So you will have a link to register. Come out, enjoy, and you'll learn so much about what we're doing. It's going to be so fun, so great, so many great things, right? Yes, and then we also have our, this is our first year ever doing a Hispanic Heritage program, which is going to highlight different individuals that are in the Hispanic Latino community that are BVI that have done great things. So we're bringing more awareness to that. We actually did one for Black History, which was in February. So September 30th, that is going to be a free event. Come out. You're going to get some dancing. We're going to teach you how to do some maraca. It's just going to be beautiful, and I'm excited about that. And then we're going to have our second annual conference, which is October 27th and 28th. Our theme this year is finding peace in your identity. So check it out. Our social mixer is going to be Friday night. Super, super fun. We're going to have karaoke and some great games, raffles, things like that. And then on that Saturday, we'll have our workshop classes on personal branding, small business, and then we're going to have our banquet. So check us out at livingbeyondlimits.us.org. You can tune in on Facebook at Living Beyond Limits, Instagram, living_beyond limits. And I'm excited.
Yes, okay. Living Beyond Limits.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. And for I Like Mine, we do have some upcoming things as well. On Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, which is the 13th, from 7 to 9, we have our monthly Gentlemen's Lounge. It's an online support group for men. For visually impaired men or any man who just wants to connect with a group of fellas speaking about your interest in life and other areas. And it's being facilitated by Brandon Scott. So you can definitely log on from 7 to 9. We have some great speakers, and we're just looking forward to connecting during this month. And on September 17th, I will be exhibiting for Eyes Like Mine at the Puerto Rican Day Parade in Newark, along with my Sash sisters, because I am a Miss Newark USA title holder. So I'll be wearing two hats on that day. And we're going to just be sharing our message. We're also looking for volunteers here in Jersey because we started a literacy program with the United Way to put Braille overlay books on African American children's books, by some famous folks we know, like Stacey Abrams, LeBron James, and Taye Diggs. And we are almost in our third completion of doing the Braille overlays. So anyone who's interested in coming in person and volunteering, you can hit me up. That would be great. And then on October 6th and 7th, we have our 7th annual Miss Blind Diva Empowerment Pageant. And we are looking forward to see who's going to take home the title of Miss Independent 2023 and Miss Blind Diva 2023. So join us. It'll be from 12 to 4 on October 6th at the Swahili Village in Newark, which is in the downtown district. And we'll have some food. We're going to be doing a dining etiquette class through the Queen's Charm School, viewing the videos of our contestants, seeing who takes home that crown that day. And then the big day is October 7th from 4 to 8 in partnership with the Newark Museum of Art. And tickets are $50 in advance, $75 at the door. And any other information you need, you can visit us at eyeslikeMine.org because we are hashtag blind, book, and busy.
Yes, I love it.
Yes, so cute. And of course, you guys, you know me, Professor Blindie. You can catch us every Saturday at 11 a.m. meeting in the classroom on Facebook Live. Again, like Melva said, we have linked up with Living Beyond Limits for our Preventing While Experiencing Pseudo Tumor Cerebri Awareness Walk. That will be happening September 23rd, 2023. And I'm so excited. Yes, and also, Melva did also say that this is our first joint event. But, you know, we plan to have many more. Our very first event was our awareness pottery class that you guys can check out and like see the recap video on that. But yes, I'm happy, you know, spreading awareness about pseudo tumor cerebri is very dear to me because I do not want anybody to go through the same experience that I did because it was very traumatic. So I'm glad, that we could come together as a collective, share our experiences, and, put good energy back out into it. Even though we were all having some degree of trauma from it, we're able to look back, reflect on it, like, what finding some humor in it now when it was a dark time then. And so I'm just so happy again that you also joined us. And yes, don't forget to sign into the classroom, drop down in the comments. And yeah, Professor Blindie out. Class is now dismissed. Toodles, everybody. Oh man, hold on, wait.
You got it. I think you on a computer hit control R. I think you should stop it.